mentioned last week the word teruma as being tavresh vav mem hey. Well, tavresh is the word pronounced tar that means to search or explore, and Rome, resh vav mem, means the great things. Where we get the word Romulan from Star Trek and Rome, and there was a reem ox, this like a prehistoric extra large type of ox. So the dictionary has a couple references, but Rome is something big and grand, and we'd have to find other English words like from a thesaurus in order to plug in other words that are bigger than just big. That's Rome. So, but the word taruma, the hey suffix then is something which expresses that. But if you look at the translation, so this is, we'll just going back covering a little bit of last week here. This is Exodus 25, verse 1. Yahuwah spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the children of Israel and let them take from me a taruma. Well, it's translated a portion. From every man whose heart motivates him, you shall take my teruma, my portion. So what I was making the point back last week was that if I try to tell you that teruma means search for the great, wonderful, spectacular things, and everybody else in the dictionary and concordance says it means portion, then you're going to think I'm making stuff up. So like what Gilin was saying, it's like, just look at the letters. Tav. What does that mean? Well, Tav is some kind of a mark or a sign, or it throws something into the past or the future. It's a target. Resh is the exalted man. Resh is the Messiah figure. Resh is the butterfly type compared to the caterpillar type. The exalted man compared to the servile man, you might say. Resh is to have some sort of dignity. Vav is an attachment device. Mem is water. People say it's chaotic. It's like a womb. It's a incubator. It's to be cleaned. It's to be contemplated from within. And then hey is this expressing or a declaration or giving something a manifest. So mem hey could be read as to take something that's closed up and express it. But the word mem hey as a word, ma, means what? Well, just think about that. What are you asking? If you're asking somebody, like when we just went through a few minutes ago, and each one of you said what was within you, you were expressing mem hey. Something that you have experienced, contemplated, tended within you, that's the mem, and you articulated it, you put it out there for people to hear, that's hey. The word lamed mem hey, lama, actually is the word translated why. So Yeshua on the cross said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Well, lama means why. It's said that he said, why have you forsaken me? I'm just pointing at the word lama, lamed mem hey. So if you look at the individual letters, you could say lamed is a shepherd's staff or the rudder on a ship or a fishhook shape, something curved like the letter J. A shepherd's staff and asking to disclose something from within? What could that possibly mean if you put those letters together? A shepherd's staff, something from within, and then an expression. Well, I could say, well, the shepherd's staff, if that's the teachings of the Torah that we're supposed to contemplate mem and then express, you could say, like what Sally was saying, is that she's pondering and mulling and being saturated by the contemplation of these letters, percolating like a tea that you put in all these different things and let it sit there and pull all the flavors out of everything. And then that which is expressed, what she called the Pesati, as soon as she starts talking about it, what was memmed from what was lamaded is then Hayed. Well, you get that if you look at the three letters, Lama. But if you just say it means why, W-H-Y, it's a question, why? It comes from what? What? What do you want? Why are you bugging me? It just doesn't capture it. So anyway, let's start off at verse, well, let me pick up on verse chapter 25 where I'm showing you. Verse 3, this is the, Exodus 25, this is the portion, the teruma, that you shall take from them, gold, silver, and copper, turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool, linen, and go here. Here is one of those places where the list of the four colors is blue, purple, red, and then linen. That's the white. Blue, purple, red, white. So this is just one of those places where if you were just reading the surface narrative, you wouldn't necessarily pick up on, oh, those are the colors of the kingdom, like we talked last week. Different have different colors in association with them in different countries, flags of certain colors. These are the colors of Yahuwah's personal determination, blue, purple, red, and white with gold. Anyway, let's drop down to verse 8. They shall make a sanctuary for me. The word is Mishkan, a place of Sheken, a place of dwelling as a neighborhood, translated into Greek, taverno, T-A-V-E-R-N-O, where in English we get the word tavern, which is the same as the Mishkan, which is the same as your local neighborhood pub. It's a place to hang out, shoot pool, talk, have a sandwich, whatever you're going to do, play a game of cards or checkers or something. It's just hang out with your friends at the local neighborhood place. That's literally the meaning of the word Mishkan. It goes on, so that I may dwell among them. He wants to hang out with us. That's the point of the Mishkan. Verse 9, like everything that I show you, the form of the tabernacle and the form of all its vessels, so shall you do. So there, that word form is tabanit, translated as pattern. Here in this translation of Stone to Knox, it's word form. Other translations, it's the word pattern. So the concept, Mishkan pattern, those two words, that phrase, this is where it comes from. Exodus 25:9 or 25:8, the pattern of the Mishkan. So shall you do. Well, like everything that I show you, this is what I started off talking about. For Yahuwah himself to say to Moshe, hey, I made something. I'm going to show you. Now, that doesn't mean that it's ever existed before on the face of the earth. So Moshe didn't just invent this tabernacle, though some people say that he did. Some people say that Moses was just real clever and that he invented the alphabet and he invented the laws for the nation and the holidays, and he put all this stuff together. But I'm mentioning this for a reason. I will show you everything that I show you, the form of the tabernacle, the form of all its vessels. What does the word form mean? It might mean just the shape of that object, but it can also mean the placement, its essence, and just like what Sally was saying about the rainbow. What colors of the rainbow? What's the meaning of the rainbow? The meaning of the rainbow when Elohim sees one is different than when we see one down on the streets of Portland with everybody yelling about stuff. It's taken on a different meaning and a different look. So what does he mean? So every time that a Christian, somebody who knows the New Testament, every single time they say the Lord's Prayer, the Tefillah Avenu, as it's said in Hebrew, the prayer of our Father, and they say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. They're asking for Yahuwah's mind and heart on earth as it is in heaven. His mind and heart in heaven certainly is being appreciated. But on earth, we're blind and ignorant, we're a little bit hard-hearted and dumb, but may you break through and cause that to happen. Every single time somebody requests that prayer, they're asking for this hidden stuff in the mem of heaven to break through somehow to noon, to birth, being hayed, expressed, zodied, blossoming onto the earth in such a way that we can actually appreciate it, recognize it. Oh, that's his stuff, because it's so unearthly. Well, the fact is that the reason that we're correlating these Hebrew letters to the tabernacle is because he told Moshe to make the form of the tabernacle really particularly. It wasn't just a building. In fact, it was hardly a building. It wasn't just a fence and a barbecue and a wash basin and then a lampstand and a table of bread and a bowl of incense and a golden treasure in the behind the curtain. That's the minimalized essence of the objects. But the tabanit is the word translated form and pattern. And like we said the other day, tabenit is the letter tav, the word beni, which means my son or my children, and then another letter tav. And so that's like being wrapped up in the signed oath agreement of the covenant, the contract between Yahweh and Israel. That's indicated by the letter tav, the X shape. So when I see the letter tav, the X shape, if I say, oh, that symbolizes the sworn agreement to be in league together, the covenant between Israel and Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. That's a very particular personality, character, identified as a deity, to use some English words, that some people call God. But to see the Aleph and say that means he has an idea and he's wrapped his entire identity into the agenda of promoting forward that idea until it accomplishes its intent, which is indicated by the letter Tav, the X. So as I said earlier, that when people see the Aleph Tav and they say, we don't know what it means, it points to the action of the verb onto the noun. It's a grammatical device, or we'll just say, oh, that's Yeshua, or that's Jesus every time you see the letters Aleph and Tav. That's all on the surface narrative level, or maybe a metaphorical level. But what is it really saying if I assign the value to Aleph not being animals, but being first person, self-referential? I am, or I will. When you see the letter Aleph as a prefix letter, quite often that's what it means. If you look at the word Aleph, which means ox, it doesn't mean I am or I will. But if you look at, there's this word here, what is it, the sixth word? Aleph Lamed Yod Kaf. I'll show you where that means it is I am or I will. So you can always disintegrate or break apart the spelling of these Hebrew words and just look at each letter, stare at it a week, or a month, like Sally was saying. Just look at one word for a week, ponder it for the next 3 years. Roll it around in your mind. Why that letter? Why is it the ox head looks like an arrowhead? This letter Aleph became the English letter A, and it talks about, I'm going to do something. I've got this big idea, and I'm gonna make this happen. And Yahweh then has described his character to us so that we would know who he is and what he's like. He says, when I plan on doing something and then I say the words, it must happen. It can't not happen. It will not fail. That's just what it is. Call it an ism, Yahweh-ism. When he says it, it has to happen, period. So once I get to know that, then every time I see a verse, a statement, something written in the scripture where Yahweh says something, I can think, has it happened before? Maybe it hasn't. Maybe it was in the past and I just didn't know. But does it sound like it's projecting into the future, into our era? And if so, if it hasn't happened, then I can bet that it's going to happen. It has to happen, unless it already has and nobody knows. But if he's making a big deal about something and says, you're going to see this happen, then it's like, woohoo, We know because when he articulates something in heaven, it must be accomplished on earth. That's a Yahwehism. It has to happen. That's Aleph, has to become Tav once he throws the Aleph out there. Once he lets go with an Aleph, it's got to hit Tav every single time. That's the essence of the meaning Aleph Tav, which the great sages of Judaism say nobody knows what it means. So they could say, well, I'm nuts for saying so. But I tell you, if you search the scriptures, you'll find it to be true. You'll find it for yourself to be true. I could count on that. So when we see the first word in verse 20 spelled Vav, Aleph Tav He, and then the next word Tav Zadi Vav He, and then the next three words are Aleph Tav hyphenated to Bet Nun Yod, and then the word Israel. We'll just take those at first. Now you command the sons of Israel, the children of Israel. That's the way it's translated. The idea here that it says, now you, where's the word now? It's spelled Vav Aleph Tav He. Well, the word right now is spelled Ayin Tav He. Not there. So that means they're taking the letter Vav all by itself, even though it's a prefix to the other three letters, and they're saying, oh, that means now. But I thought Vav means and. I thought Vav was a nail. So here you see the professional translators have decided to say the Vav means now. How is that a hook? How is that a bridge? How is that a nail? Is it coming off of chapter 24? Now, based on what? The last matter in chapter 24, Moshe ascended the mountain, the cloud covered the mountain, the glory of Yahweh rested on Mount Sinai. It covered it for a 6-day period. He called to Moshe on the 7th day from the midst of the cloud. The appearance of the glory of Yahweh was like a consuming fire on the mountaintop before the eyes of the children of Israel. Moshe arrived in the midst of the cloud and ascended the mountain, and Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. And then he says, now command. He didn't say that. I'm just trying to show you. If you want to get a sense of appreciation for what's going on in chapter 25, Parashat Teruma, you set it up with what came right before it in chapter 24. 40 days and 40 nights. I don't think Moshe ate or slept, it says elsewhere, but he was just like standing in the presence of this living rainbow. How else do you describe something spectacular? Again, we have to use English or earth experience, which are so much lower or more mundane, and look at one of the greatest, shiny, brilliant things and say, it's like that, only more. It's teruma, beyond the earthly. But so here Moshe is having this personal experience. A couple of verses right before, Yahweh said, ascend the mountain and remain there, and I will give you the stone tablets and the teaching and the commandment that I have written to teach them. Yahweh himself wrote. What words did he write with? These Hebrew words. These paleo letters, I believe. To teach them. So right here, Yahweh is saying, I want my people to know my mind and my heart through the writing of my hand, my finger, my writings. So these are the matters of heaven that we are requesting for 2,000 years. Christians have requested, may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Learn the language. That is answering that request. This is the way to get that. And yet, did we ever even think so? For 50 years, I never had even the clue that, oh, learn Hebrew so that his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Never would have made that connection. Anyway, going on to 26. 27, the chapter, he's talking about in chapter 25 how to build the menorah, and then the covers of the tabernacle at 26. Then in 27, he's talking about the altar and the courtyard. And when you get down to verse 20, it's a new parashah. It says parashah Tetzavah. And it says, now you shall command the children of Israel that they take for you pure olive oil, pressed for illumination, to kindle a lamp continually. Okay, that's verse 20. In the tent of meeting, that would be inside the Mishkan place, outside the partition that is near the testimonial tablets, he's just locating it. Aaron and his sons shall arrange it from evening till morning before Yahweh, an eternal decree for their generations from the children of Israel. Okay, those are the two verses. That's verse 21 and 22, just so you hear it from the stones tonight. Now we're going to go through it word for word, letter for letter. The word Aleph Tav Hey, meaning you, pointing to you, Y-O-U, and if you put a Vav in front, it means now you. What I'm saying is that if Vav is a connector, it's not necessarily meaning now. That's what the translator said it meant. It might mean it's connecting Moshe standing in this place up on the mountain and seeing the blazing kavod, the glory of Elohim, overwhelming, like standing at the source of the rainbow. And the word you, Y-O-U, is spelled Aleph Tav Hey. It just means you, but Hey is an expression. So if I say, well, it's expression, Hey is a feminine suffix expressing what? What came before it? What came before it? Aleph Tav. So I can read the word Y-O-U as saying, you, in light of this experience of beholding Elohim, express or emanate or be the menorah, be the source of the light, the projection of Aleph Tav. You project and manifest Aleph Tav. Well, wait a minute. Aleph Tav is Yahweh's business. Yahweh is supposed to express Aleph Tav. Everything he decided to Aleph will Tav. Whatever word goes forth from his mouth will not return void. It'll accomplish whatsoever he sends it forth to do. That's Aleph becoming Tav. But Yeshua said, I only do the things I see my Father doing. Okay, then he sees the Aleph agenda, intention, promotion, and he was going to bring it about. He's going to do everything he can to make that thing Tav. Okay, Yeshua said, follow me, do what I do. Okay, then we should be doing the same thing. And what I'm saying is that's built into the word Ve'ata. You, now you. In light of all this stuff that Elohim just expressed, the 10 Commandments, the fire on Mount Sinai, Moshe, 40 days and nights up there in his presence. Now, your job, express Aleph Tav. What's Aleph Tav? Oh, it's the way all the 22 letters fit together and everything they mean. The next word, Tav, Zadivav, Hey. Well, the Tav is a prefix, Hey is a suffix. But Zadivav is the word usually used just as command, but it's not the type of command like a Chet Kuf, which is a law command. This is the captain giving a command for all the crew to engage in so that something can be accomplished. If you put a mem in front of it, you'll get a mitzvot, which is a different type of law or instruction. And even the word mem zadi hey or mem zadi aleph means find out how to do something. So if you want to, we talked about this last week, if you want to join the colors, as it's called, to join up on a certain team or on a certain military group, whether it's a big group or a little group, they all have their badges and patches. And if you join a group with a certain mission or a certain way of doing things, then you have to learn the signature. You got to learn the Zadivav. You got to learn the Zadivav of the kingdom of heaven in order to express the Aleph Tav. So this is Tav, Zadivav, Hey. It's now for you, your job, your mission in life, to manifest the expression of Aleph Tav, which is a function of keeping his instructions, his commandments, his zadivavs. The word zadi yod means, the yod is a personal suffix, means my. So when you have the word Zion, like Mount Zion, zadi yod vav nun, really, literally, the suffix of vav nun means one who is engaged in the action of doing the verb action, which is the zadi. So you could say Mount Zion is not some mythical kingdom, is not a mountain over there in Israel. Zion is the people who are keeping Yahuwah's commands, as if he was the admiral and you were the captain of a ship, or you're a swabby on the deck and he's the captain of the ship. However you want to engage the relationship, do what he said. And as you're doing what he said, you're manifesting the expression of Aleph Tav. But who's he talking to? So that's the verb action. So now there's this Aleph Tav hyphenated. So there's the grammatical device of, say, expressing the Aleph Tav Heid by keeping the Zadi Vav, you keeping his commands, Aleph Tav, who's supposed to be doing it? B'nai Israel. B'nai Israel, well, that means my son Israel. Okay, so that means Yahweh is claiming Israel as his own son. B'nai Israel. Okay, the next word, Vav Yod Kuf Het Vav, Vayikocho. So Kuf Het means to seize or take hold or claim. This is mine. I'm going to hold on to it with everything I got. The next word, Aleph Lamed Yod Kaf. Well, Lamed Yod, the two letters in the middle, and it works easy if you look for the prefix and suffix and then look for the other words. That's one way of diagnosing these words that really works quite well. But so the kaf suffix simply means you or yours. The aleph prefix means I am, or I will. And then lamed yod is the two letters in the middle. And this is the word li, as in the phrase ani ladodi vedodi li. Li, this word li means mine. I, my beloved is mine. That's a phrase from Song of Solomon I just quoted there a moment ago. But the word li means to me, or of mine. This is my possession, or I'm under this. This is the authority, because you got a shepherd's staff and this hand that grabs. So if you look at then the individual letters, I will mine you. What does that mean? Aleph Lamed, though, is the word that's used to translate it as either the word no, N-O, or motion toward, which is more like something moving in that direction with a certain force. So if I say, I will mine you, moving with a certain force toward me, then he's saying, essentially, I will draw you toward me, or I will claim you as mine with a force. If what? What are the conditions? Back up. Seize, take hold. And it starts off with the vav, which is the connector. Yod means he will. That's the third person, whereas the aleph was the first person, meaning I will. But this is he will. And then the vav suffix means either it or his. So it means he who takes hold of it. Of what? Who's he talking to? Let's back up. He's talking to B'nai Israel, who's Yahweh is claiming as his own son, who is so wrapped up pondering the Aleph Tav, meditating, stewing, like I said, like a tea, just brewing, letting all the flavors of each letter come out into you, into your mem, that what gets hayed is the Aleph Tav in your expression of your personal flavor, or your personal way of being you. The Aleph Tav comes out through you that only it can, because of you. As you are keeping his commands, you become B'nai Israel, and as you take hold and seize it, Yahweh is seizing you and claiming you as his B'nai Israel. The next word, shemen, well, that's oil. then the next word, that's Shin Mem Nun, the next word, Zayin Yod Tav, that's the word Zit, which is olive, and then the word Zayin Kaf, which means pure clean. So it's translated, take pure olive oil. It's like, wait a minute. Let's read this in the context. Shemen, Shem, Shin Mem Nun. Nun suffix, Shin prefix, Mem right in the middle. Mem is the place of incubation, the womb, the 50 days of counting of Shavuot, the place where you're thinking and taking it to heart. It's somewhat chaotic, but you're making it your own. Shin as a prefix can mean that's which belongs to, but Shin Mem is the word name, fame, renown, reputation, place, here or there. Mem Nun is where you get the word manna, which means, wow, where'd this come from? So it's something hidden that in the word shemen itself is the word for oil or the number 8, or it means appraisal, to assess, evaluate, and consider the worth. It's a synonym with the word Erik, as in Eriktology. So here this is, he's saying, going back to the beginning, I'm just trying to take these two verses. It's a little bit laborious, but I'm showing you this is my method of looking over these, and I'm trying to walk through it with you so you get an experience of like somebody holding the back of your bike while you're on training wheels and trying to give you a shove. That's kind of what we're trying to do here. So you, pondering the Aleph Tav, do what he says, and as you just let it be expressed through you, being that you are facing toward him as B'nai Israel, his children, seize and take hold of this, because as doing it, he promises here, Aleph, I will make you mine. I will seize you and claim you as my own, because you are claiming my words as your own. Then the value of that, the shemen, Zayin Yod Tav, is simply the word oil. But I know that that letter Zayin there is Yeshua being crucified. I know that when Pilate said, behold this man, Eke Homa, pointing at Yeshua with the crown of thorns and the purple robe and ripped to shreds with the Roman flail, that they had distinguished him with the Roman weapons. And that's the meaning of the word Zayin. But Zion also is the Sabbath day, the one day set apart with meaning and distinguished. And I know that the number 7, the letter Zion is spelled with the letter Zion, but then it means to be adorned with weapons. But it's the 7th letter, and the 7th letter is spelled Shin Bet Ayin Shiva, which also means to swear a vow. So now I can look at this and say, appraise the value of, when it's Zayin Yod Tav, the Yod Tav suffix means I will or I have. So this is saying I have sworn a vow, or my distinction, my great distinction that sets apart myself from anybody else, like the Sabbath day from any other day, like Yeshua from any other would-be Messiah figure, is that I have sworn. I have sworn what? The word right before, Shin Mem Nun. What's at the Mem? The Mem is to take personal within you the meaning of the Kaf and Lamed, the Torah. The words that he offered, that he handed us, that he said, take this and repeat them, like we just read in chapter 25, teach these to your children, keep going over these things. That's what the word Lamed means. Repeat, rehearse, go over it. And here he says, I have sworn that my appraisal, see, if he's talking about himself here, because it says Aleph, Lamed Yod Kaf, I will make you mine and seize you if you seize my words, because my appraisal is that I have sworn. And then the last 2 letters, Zayin Kaf, of the following word that just means pure and clean, literally can be read as to make you distinct. I have vowed that this will be your distinction. So he's telling you right here that if you, as his son, B'nai Israel, will so become with him, like him, of his mind, of his heart, of his behavior, by doing the Zadivav commandments, expressing Hey, the Aleph Tav, seizing with all your might to take hold the Kuf Het, as we are imagining in whatever human capacity he built us with, to be toward him, that is his greatest value, his greatest appreciation. And when you look at him saying to Yeshua, the voice comes out of heaven, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. He's essentially saying the same thing about anybody who picks up these words to learn these instructions and keep this Torah, and to make the essence of the Aleph Tav so you yourself that it's expressed out of you, it oozes out of you, it hays out of you. He goes on the next word, Kaf Tav Yod Tav. Well, that word as a word means beaten, crushed, or pounded, and it seems to be talking about the pure olive oil. But we just determined, wait a minute, the story of the olive oil here only seems to be the suitcase carrying the deeper message. So if it's not necessarily crushed, beaten, and pounded, though that's what the word means, the letter Kaf can be read as a prefix that means like, and Tav means to classify a faction or a section, very similar, it's a synonym with the word Peinun, as in Panei or Panim, which means my face or countenance. So the Yod Tav suffix means I will. So you could say the same word means I will classify in my comparative to my face, those who have my attention, those who are like Moshe going up on the mountain to stand in my gaze, because the Aleph Tav itself is the connector. The Aleph Tav is the great Vav, which connects the presence of Elohim in heaven with the presence of Bnei Israel on earth in this, call it esoteric, which is to say not visible, which is to say somehow the essence, intangible, surreal, beyond the senses of the physics of the earth. It transcends. This Aleph Tav is used as the vehicle, the Merkabah, the chariot, to ride us, connect us to Elohim, the matters of heaven, to the matters of the earth, through the consciousness of the human engaging in this action. Lamed Mem Aleph Vav Resh is the next word, which means Lamed Mem, like we said before, Lama, which is the why or the reasoning, or this is the authority, the Lamed, the authority of what brings to birthing out of the Mem Aleph Vav Resh, which is the word light. So the authority as the source for projecting the light which comes from that. The next word, Lamed Hey Ayin Lamed Tav. Lamed prefix means for when the Hey is the next letter. Then you realize that Ayin Lamed is where you get the word Aliyah, or it's translated as with, it's a yoke, but it also means to raise up, the higher, to succeed or to prosper, or the greatest things, like what Sally was expressing earlier there. There's just nothing greater. Everything else becomes a letdown or something you can maybe tolerate. But let me get back to this, because this is where it is. Looking at these words, and this word here is just saying, Lamed Hey Ayin Lamed Tav Lahalat, a whole lot. It almost say it sounds like the English words a whole lot, which is to say raising up a lot. This is the vehicle for elevating us up to this higher level. And then the letters Nun Resh. Well, Aleph Vav Resh is the word light. Mem Nun Vav Resh is menorah. So Nun Vav Resh has to do with menorah. Starting with a mem is the place from where Nun is moving or projecting the light itself. So menorah is the mem, and nun is just tells you about the object and the action. The or is the actual light. So here you just have Nun Resh. But if you look up in the dictionary, you'll see that, well, Resh Nun we'll find elsewhere is a word where you get the word running and ringing cry, Ronan. But Nun is this action, and Resh is like this like a big street light, a bulb that's shining, you might say. So it's a projection. So you could say there's an action of this head, this distinction, like this street lamp. There's this concept that what I see in here is this catapult or a trebuchet, this thing that just takes a matter and a ream, a ram, and just throws it up high. The ayin lamed hey. So I'm trying to read these pictures into these words. And then the last word, tamid, which is translated to be continuously, it's tav mem yod dalet. Well, tav mem is the word that means perfect. Tom, artless, not your own stuff. Artless, innocent, pure, meaning you haven't written and put your own, like we were talking earlier. Does the aleph mean animals, or does it mean Yahweh's personal agenda to do something? The reason I was going on about the items by which you can correlate or register or index the meaning of these letters to, when they're purely Yahweh, sequence of the days of creation, the design of the Mishkan, the Moedim themselves, the Beatitudes, those are purely Yahweh. Those are Tom, those are Tav Mem. For us to say, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that, no longer Tom, it's no longer perfect, it's no longer Kadosh. I mean, you can certainly engage the idea for the fun of art, but Tom, literally, you'll see in the dictionary, it means artless, innocent, naive, which means you haven't put your own stuff into it. So for this word to be Tav Mem Yod Dalet, that's where you get the word Yod, which means hand or arm or power or a pillar or a monument. Mem Yod, me, is the word that means who, W-H-O. So you could say if Tav is a prefix, it means whose hand? Could you say whose hand is on this? Is this Yahweh's hand or is this a human's hand? If it's human stuff, it's not Tom and we've messed with it by accident or on purpose. Sunday, Christmas, Easter, Halloween, those are all human stuff. It's not Tom. The Moedim, the way they're really supposed to be kept, those are Tom. Tamid. Well, Mid, Mem Yod Dalet, is where we get the word Mem Dalet with a Yod vowel dropped in, or what I call the wild cards. That's where we get the word made, as in tailor-made, something made to fit, or mode, which is M-O-D-E, which is the way something is done just right. So I could put this all together and say what's translated as being the continuous offering is actually referring to going back up to the beginning and saying the person who will so ponder and wrap herself up in this aleph bet, to want to just even be expressing it and then keeping his commandments, being B'nai Israel, seizing hold, knowing and believing that he then seizes you, and that as you appreciate and appraise this shemening of his distinct things, every letter is a Zion. Every letter is a thing of distinction in its own right. That's like the top of the Eriktology chart, where every letter can be seen from the viewpoint of every other letter. Each letter is one of the Zavot, one of the Amadim, the standing pillars that hold up the universe. Every letter is a statement as if it was the only letter. And the same way that Yeshua was distinctive, and Yahweh said, "This is my beloved son," he's basically, by saying the word Zion Kaf, is that you who do this with a pure, clean heart are also purely his distinctive son, B'nai Israel, that he swears the vow to protect and be with for eternity. And to be classified in that distinction is the manifesting of light that raises up thrown like this catapult, this trebuchet. It was just, you can picture this shooting star of shooting through the universe into some sort of who knows where, beyond our imagination. These letters are the Merkabah, the catapult, the chariot, to go on a ride like, wow, there's no other way to get there. It's in these. Okay, before I do verse 21, is there anything any of you want to jump in and say?
I love it. I love it. This is, I am so just perched and perked up by everything you're saying, and I appreciate that you're going over this, because I did do the study of this verse and the next one, and you're actually adding to my study with some of your what you're saying, and it's just making it even more wonderful. So thank you so much. I'm just loving it. I'm that's all I can say is it's just wonderful. So I'm looking forward to the next verse too, but we can continue to talk about this one too. I'm just loving this. This is great.
How about Sean or Guylaine or Mark? Does any of you have anything you want to say before Kurt turns us off and goes to the next hour?
Just reiterate, Eric. I mean, it just all goes back like the Aleph and the Tav. I mean, it all goes back to Aleph and the Tav. It goes back to the beginning and the end. The end and the beginning. You know, it all ties it back together. That tie in. It that's how it all began. Everything will in the end will be a repeat of everything that was in the beginning, and it all ties it back together. That's the way that what I'm getting out of it is well too. It's just as my mind goes with examining these words and the tie-ins. It's amazing.
I can say I find it very, very encouraging, because that has been the dream of my life. You know, that Yahweh one day would say, "You are my beloved." And doing this, the way you're seeing this scripture is just amazing. It brings hope, it's amazing. Totally, yeah, it's amazing. I'm very blessed by this.
Yeah, and there's something in the study of this specific verse that it's like well, it's kind of like Israel was at Sinai and they were given the Torah, and they were basically told what they experienced when they were being coming out of the Exodus, and they all had their own personal experience of Egypt. And when they were given the Torah, they were told, even though it was a corporate thing, it was an individual, realization or revelation as to what each person experienced. And what you're saying in this verse is something like that. So it's really amazing and wonderful. It's just great. It's wonderful. It's paleo.
The only way a corporation can exist is if the individuals that are part of that corporation walk in sync with each other. And the way that's explaining it, Eric, using letter by letter like that, it brings a different depth to it that really tickles my soul. I love it. So like everybody else, I'm just going to shut up now and listen for the other half.
Verse 21 then.